Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the champs hold down the fort and increase their ongoing never-fall streak to 6. In related news, there will be a one-on-one PvP tournament held this weekend, hosted by Hammer of Dawn. Event organizers, about 31 birds, requests that interested parties respondez s'il vous plaît using the link in the description. A significant prize pool is available for participants to win, so check it out if you're looking to test your mettle. Taking a closer look at the West Central region, and we can see Marauder forces attempting to re-secure trade routes with Cutlass Keys by applying regional pressure on First Light and Monarch's Bluff. Meanwhile, the forces of the Syndicate are attempting to retake the resort destination of Ebonscale by offering it favorable cinnamon and spice contracts. KOTT News would like to remind its subscribers of the ongoing unique drop available to Prime members, so get yours while supplies last. Looking at the weather tonight, and once again the sun will shine across the sky, keeping corrupted forces at bay. But look out once again after sunset as the polar confluences once again give rise to invasions at the tips. No submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by Peace. But we'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as one might expect after a night of peace. KOTT news crews took the opportunity to clean and reapply thermal paste to prepare for some upcoming content grinding. More on that story as it develops. Looking at the weather, and it's going to be a beautiful day well into afternoon again today as the sun journeys across the sky. But look out after sundown as a southern typhoon will break land and dredge up a 30% chance of invasion with it. 2 submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. Up first, the Syndicate forces of Lords of Hotan assault the Marauders of Benched Healers Union for control of the northernmost region of Morningdale. From their staging grounds in Restless Shore, the Lords of Hotan return to the northern observation post, making their second attempt to retake the region since losing it in the chaos of the Megastorm. As for the Benched Healers Union, they've been able to out-heal any would-be attackers and maintain control of the region. They'll be standing on the objectives, daring Hotan to out-DPS them through the heals. Then, the Marauders of Ghosts of Dead Servers attack the Syndicate forces of Adra's Little Pogchamps for Crown and Kingdom of the Western Monarch's Bluff. The newcomers of Ghosts of Dead Servers fly the same banners as Tarshish. Perhaps they're here to declare their right to rematch. For Adra's Little Pogchamps, holding the bluff would maintain the Syndicate's stranglehold on the southern trade routes. They're not likely to give that up. We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of Lords of Hotan re-secure the forward observation post of Morningdale. KOTT News Studios were experiencing severe electrical dust storms last night, so coverage of the victory was limited, unfortunately. Speaking of the weather, most days around KOTT Studios are much like the Eternum afternoon, as the sun blazes across the sky. But sometimes, as the sun fades and the temperatures dip, pressure drops will lead to a 30% chance of corrupted invasions. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it is cardboard. Tonight, the Syndicate forces of Rogue Reavers attack the Covenant forces of Trap Chat for control of the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. Once again, the forces of Rogue Reavers march into the woods in their effort to reclaim the hamlet of Brightwood. Will the third time be the charm? And once again, the forces of Trap Chat stand prepared to defend their right of first response, even though they'd rather be focused on repairing the Brightwood Cathedral. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the forces of Trap Chat managed to fend off the newest Syndicate strategy and retain control of the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. KOTT news crews were on the scene as the spoils of victory were handed out to the participants. Will recent proposed adjustments to the laws of simulated armed conflict impact their future strategies? We caught up with Trap Chat leadership afterwards to get their reactions. Thanks for taking the time to stop and talk to me. Congratulations on your victory. How do you think it went? Would you care to take us through it?
Well, it was an interesting one, John. It didn't go quite as we thought it would.
Well, you still managed to hold it, so it at least went as well as it could have for you, I would think. Are they starting to put a little pressure on you? I've noticed that they've come after you about 3 times in the last week.
They're trying a lot of new stuff, so I think they're learning. I'm expecting a stronger push next week.
KOTT News would like to remind its subscribers of the Tournament of Summer Days one-on-one PvP event happening tonight at 6 p.m. server. So come on down and enjoy the festivities from the first row circle around the participants. Turning to the weather, and it's going to be a bit of a scorcher today as the sun blazes across the sky, keeping everything dry. But look out once again after sundown as the temperatures drop and humidity rises, causing a 30% chance of invasion. 2 submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. First up, the Covenant forces of Tropical challenge the champs of the Censored for their championship title and the right to rule over Everfall. Tropical forces return to the ring after a 2-week hiatus. Will their roadwork up the Siren Chest run improve their endurance enough to finish? For the champs, they're within striking distance of 3rd place on the all-time Neverfall list, but only if they can hold off the forces of Tropical once again. Then, the Marauders of Dragoon Heathens assail the Syndicate forces of Dancing Phoenix for control of First Light and the flow of the spice. Dragoon Heathens exercise their right to rematch and attempt to break through the Southwest Trade Route blockade, while simultaneously seizing the island's primary spice production region. For Dancing Phoenix, their first defense of the fort since acquiring it 2 weeks ago. They've had ample time to install the maximum fort upgrades powered by the spice. We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the Spice Lords of Dancing Phoenix maintain control of the spice flow, and the heavyweight champions of the Censored hold the inner flag for 15 minutes and extend their Neverfall streak to 7. We caught up with the champs after the fight in Everfall.
No, that was a really hard-fought war. We feel pretty good about our efforts there. We cleaned up what we wanted to clean up from the last war, so we're just going to keep on improving, get real nitpicky, and keep improving and pushing our guys who get better each and every war, so we're having a lot of fun.
KOTT news crews then traveled to First Light to follow up on the southern trade route disputes and caught up with Dancing Phoenix leadership on the steps of City Hall.
We had a lot of help because we had a lot of members attending some events and the holiday weekend. So I just want to give a special shout out to Hal Deer and the Censored, the Solar Squad, and of course the Trap Chat crew, the 5 men that graciously decided to come help us out. And it was a decisive victory.
The first annual Tournament of Summer Days was held last night on the Dueling Island behind Reekwater Keep. Competitive sportspersons of all fields of weaponsmith were on scene to measure their individual might. And though all competitors displayed outstanding skill and determination, in the end, there can be only one victor. Special thanks to About 31 Birds for organizing and running this player-driven event, so everyone be sure to congratulate this week's Citizen of the Week. In honor of the PvP tournament, no wars were declared for tonight, so enjoy the final nights of the Medley Fair. We'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum, as you might expect after a night of peace, except for perfect login conditions this morning. Perhaps this evening's final performance of the Medley Fair has something to do with that. Turning to the weather, and after the sun has another consecutive day of screaming across the sky, southeastern storms will break land on the island, giving rise to a 30% chance of invasion. 2 submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. First up, the Covenant forces of Crown Royale assault the Syndicate forces of Adra's Little Pogchamps for Crown and Kingdom of the Monarch's Bluff. Crown Royale forces come marching up the hill, declaring their crown to be the one true crown, and because they use metric, it's the Crown Royale. But Adra's Little Pogchamps are the ones wearing the crown that matters, and they have no intention of relinquishing their crown to just any old clowns. In the nightcap, the Marauders of Yig Dodgers assail the Covenant forces of Tropical X for control of the master fishing port town of Reekwater. Initial reports seem to indicate the Yig Dodgers are avoiding a situation elsewhere, but surely they don't think it will be any easier here. For Tropical X, they've held the hamlet from the forces of the island since acquiring it during their response to the megastorm last month. Will they have any issues with these newcomers? We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. Dynamic changes in the history of Eternum last night as the Marauders of Yig Dodgers capture the master fishing port town of Reekwater, and the Covenant forces of Crown Royale march up to the Monarch's Bluff and force the recognition of their new and improved crown. KOTT news crews caught up with Crown Royale leadership on the steps of City Hall and asked them about the outcome.
I think it went very well. We had really good pressure right off the gate on B. We were able to tick that down, full army versus their army, so we got some good wipes in. Lindy did amazing. She's a biz healer. And Monkey, and Juicy Jr. Those are my ride or dies. They were out there grinding.
Later in the evening, KOTT News were able to secure an interview with an appointed representative in Reekwater.
I'm under NDA right now. I couldn't talk about it, but it's all under the table.
KOTT News crews then asked about the suspension bridge repairs that were long overdue.
The bridge is okay. What are you talking about?
For those of you who crave more festivities, be sure to join us on September 28th to celebrate the 2nd annual Festival of the Campfire. All you'll need to do is log in and set your campsite outside of town and reminisce about what the Festival of the Campfire means to you. Breaking news, the Reekwater Overpass Bridge collapses overnight. We go now to JC live on the scene. JC? Thanks, JC. I'm here on the steps of City Hall where the civic leaders of Yig Dodgers are dodging the question, what happened to the bridge? Last night's cleanup crews were quick to respond when the opulent gift structure collapsed into the waters below, fortunately avoiding any serious damage to the docks. KOTT News spoke with a witness to last night's events earlier this morning.
I may have missed the docks, Joan, but it didn't miss me. That pavilion thingy poofed away, and then the rigging gave out. The whole bridge fell down in the water just as I was bringing in me catch. I had to dive in so I didn't get crushed. It was cats and dogs living together, John, mass hysteria. It battered me skiff and dumped me whole catch in the water. And now the mayor is dodging his responsibilities. How's a fisherman to make a buck these days without his boat? Wait, there goes that damn mayor now. Hey, Mayor!
We have submitted an interview request with city leaders and await their response. We'll bring you more on this story as it develops. JC, thanks JC, turning to the weather, and once again, the sun up, the sun across, the sun down, leading to a 30% chance of corruption invasion descending from the mountains into the island. 2 submissions for simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Up first, the Zealots of Homunconda assault the syndicate forces of Lords of Hotan for control of the northernmost region of Morningdale. The newcomers of Homunconda make their official debut in the history books by attempting to acquire their holy region near the northern Death Wall. The Lords of Hotan stand firm in their resolve to hold the forward observation post in order to ensure early warning against any future mega corruption storms. Then, the Marauders of Nirvana Clap Healers attack the Covenant forces of Trapchat for control of the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. Nirvana's unique strike force, consisting of their best sustained, prepare to zerg the keep through drawn-out fights, a strategy which benefits those who make fewer mistakes. As for the forces of Trapchat, their rapid response zerg counter is equally impressive, and long sustain on 50/50s is well within their wheelhouse. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.